remaining to Rosemary.
Absolutely. But what I can say is I have shared the stage with you on a number of occasions when we both were speaking passionately about our beloved breeds, our Irish breeds, that yourself and Kathy are very strong, and you've got a great club working in that department. So I know how enthusiastic you are and what a passionate speaker, and I wanted to bring it to our audience tonight. So I'm thrilled that you're here, I have to tell you.
I'm delighted to be here, and thank you all those who are logged in, and I hope you get something out of this.
Brilliant. I think we certainly will. Sean, can I just start? Let's have a little warm up. Something simple and easy. We know that your family have been involved in dogs for a very, very long time. Can you tell me about, not really your history in the breed, but tell me about your favourite Kerry from years gone by that was the one that really stamped at home? I know you're a great terrier kennel, the whole family, but what Kerry Blue was so close to your heart that made you want to continue on and breed those and become so passionate about those?
Well, I was born with Kerry Blues and reared with them, and there are certainly some dogs that grab your heart and are important to you. And probably the first one from the mid-1950s that my father had that kind of gave me that special bond and feeling would have been Shillelagh's Fiery Charm, who became Irish UK champion and eventually went to the States. So she was probably the first one that my first girlfriend in Kerry Blues, for want of a better word. And after that, then dogs that stand out for me, ones that we bred or owned ourselves, probably Shillelagh Fajara, a dog that Pat Monroe of the famous Arkema prefix, on her first judging appointment, she gave him best in show as a young dog in the Kerry Blue of England breed show. So that was a special occasion for us. And then he went on to be a major winner in UK, Ireland, and eventually went overseas, ended up in Italy, where he was very influential with the Balboa Kennels. So that was they were kind of two dogs that. And then if I was to pick another one, a very different type of dog, Torham's Mr. Dooley, which is a dog we got from obviously Ron and Carol in UK. He was a different type of dog, a bigger, more exaggerated dog than Fajara, very different in type, but had an amazing expression in head and a rock firm tail set, and just looked such an athletic kind of full frame dog. So they were dogs that really stay back in my mind.
Wonderful.
Of course, I have to mention Torham Scarf Michael. Nothing to do with me. Okay, I gave him a CC in UK, and I also gave him a best of breed of Montgomery Circle a long time ago. But as the top winning Kerry Blue of all time in this part of the world, yeah, he was special.
Well, you've sort of anticipated my next question, but I'm going to push you a little bit harder on that. I was actually going to ask you, of all the dogs, all the Kerrys you've judged, certainly you've judged throughout the world, Sean, and your experience is second to none, who would have been the best dog you ever judged, and where was it? Well, you've sort of answered that anyway. And who is the best female that you ever judged, who really had an influence on you, perhaps for the future as well? And we all like to use dogs and open up our kennels. And what dog for you was something that you thought, now that could come to Ireland and do us a little bit of help? Because, kennels come and go. And so I'm pushing you a wee bit further and asking for a wee bit more.
Well, I think obviously I've said it already about Scarf Michael. He was a special dog type, all the things that you want type breed, or piece by piece. Other dogs, and I'd rather mention, if you don't mind, kennels rather than pick specific dogs.
Yeah.
I think certainly in Italy, the Balboa Kennels have been very influential and have maintained a level of type consistency all over the years, and they're really very important. And of course, back home we have many nice kennels in Ireland, so I'm not going to lose my friends by starting naming them. I'd have to mention though Philip O'Brien, the Edbrius Kennels.
Yes.
Some years ago, Kathy and I were judging in, I think it was Czech Republic, or maybe, I'm not sure which country it was, but I judged the breed first, and there was a dog and a bitch handled by the same guy of the highest quality. And I gave the dog best of breed, and Kathy's judging the next day, and I could say to her, I think you would prefer the bitch. And she did, but they were such a high quality and amazing and I never really saw them showing later on anywhere else. But maybe I just missed them or I wasn't at the shows. But I thought they were exceptional, and they were brother and sister, and they were exceptional.
Lovely.
And one other thing I'd like to comment, I'd have to mention the Russians. A long time ago, too many years ago, I judged a breed speciality for Kerry Blues in Moscow. And there were 94 Kerry Blues entered under me.
Wow.
94. And they were of a really good, high quality. And that was all to the efforts of Alexander Ivanov, who has the Irish hippie prefix. And that was a really significant prefix. He wrote a book in Russian about the breed. So there's people all over the world have grasped this breed, and it's become their passion.
Well, that's really nice.
Yeah,
nice to hear that, Sean.
Yeah, we're delighted with that they share this, what we see in the breed, they see as well. And they take it on themselves and develop it themselves. And America has brought them up to a really high level as well. There's so many places worldwide that really have achieved a very high level.
Again, you've stole my question, you little devil. It's okay. It's great because it's lovely talking to someone who's so passionate and they keep on talking great. I was going to ask you, which country or where have you been so excited about the depth of quality? Because I know myself, we've all judged around the world, and your breed, you're looking for new dogs and you're looking for this, that and the other, and to come away from a country and you think, you know what, they're doing great work. They're doing great work, because sometimes the breed hits peaks and troughs in various countries. And is there any country that has really, done that for you and you said, you know what, they're doing great work for the future?
Well, it may not be popular, but I have to say Russia. I think they came from a very blank canvas, for want of a better word. Whereas us over here in these parts of the world, I might not get on necessarily with you and you with me. So we maybe we wouldn't cooperate in breeding and whatever, for all the right reasons maybe. But they came with a blank canvas and could get one from you and one from me and make them. And it showed in the quality of dogs that they produced over a long period of time, over the last 30 years. So I think coming from nowhere, they were very impressive the way they took on the breed.
Excellent. Sean, another question, and I know we have a number of breeders of varying experiences on our audience tonight. When you're looking at a litter of puppies, now I know this won't come up so much in your talk because your talk is heavily about the breed and judging the breed, but if you were choosing a Kerry Blue from a combination that you put together, what is it that stands away for a puppy that you look into the nest and you say, you're the one for me? What is it about that dog that pulls your eye and makes you say, that's it, Kathy? Or is it Kathy that says, hey, I want that one?
that is $1 million question, and I think all breeders would say, I wish I had a definitive answer to that, because I think we've all been there where we have the choice between two and we let one go and it ends up beating you for the next 2 years. So I think it's very difficult. With Kerry Blues, I think a lot of them is without personality, stance, attitude, impression. So I would always, with the pups, I'd never pick when they're young. I'd look at them running around when they start to run around, and if I see one that catches my eyes, I just put a little dot on his belly, a little mark on his belly, and then a week later watch again and have a look again, and then see which one I pick. And if it's the same one, if that happens 2 or 3 times in a row, that's the one.
Super. Sean?
I think it's all about balance and charisma and attitude. A lot is, now obviously you check the mouth and things like that, but I think in general, assuming that all your mouths are good, and they usually are in Kerry's, that I would pick the one with the style, with the attitude.
You and me both. Sean, I'm just conscious of our time. We have a lot to get through, and I want to hear you. Listen, I've heard you speak on Kerry's a number of times, and I never get tired of it, so I can't wait to hear what you've got to tell us about tonight in such a really in-depth way. So, Sean, without further ado, I'm going to hand over to you to teach us all about the Kerry Blue tonight, and thank you so much again for your time.
Not at all, thank you.
Thank you. Go ahead, Sean.
Okay, you're all very welcome, and I just share my thoughts and my ideas on Kerry Blues, particularly with the issue of type. I'm not going to bore you to death with the 45-degree angles at the shoulder, or cow-hawked or sickle-hawked, because you can see that anywhere and they apply to any breed. The Kerry Blue is not an exaggerated dog in any manner. So you will not find anything strange or algebra formula or Latin words in the breed. They're very straightforward, honest to God made. So if you know canine construction, you will find it them a very, very normal breed. So we'll kick into it anyway straight away. As you see the first slide up there, their origin I think is important, and we have to, no matter what the breed is, find out where they came from. And the Kerry Blue originally was like a lot of the terrier breeds in Ireland. They were farm dogs or in small villages. The kings or the noblemen of the time had the wolfhound. The earls and the hunting people had the gun dogs, like Diane with her red setters. So the normal people, excuse me saying that, Diane, the normal people thought they needed a multi-purpose dog. And that's how the terriers of Ireland were developed. Mainly the three, the Irish, the Kerry Blue, the Wheaton, and later on the Glen. But they were bred to be multi-purpose dogs, and they were dog of the people. So the difference in colours and coats really is what separates mainly the terrier breeds of Ireland, but there are specifics in each of the breeds which create type. So we'll go to the Kerry Blue standalone. The first, if you go back to the first slide there, Paul, again. Can you go back? Yeah, great. This is it's a working certificate for a Kerry Blue. And as you see the images in each corner, there's supposedly a Kerry Blue in each corner at the top, and the badger each corner at the bottom. And those days, badger, rat, otter were considered vermin. And farmers wanted dogs that could kill these because they figured the badger was spreading tuberculosis. So now whether that was right or wrong is irrelevant. That was the thing at the time, in the 1900s, early 1900s. And the Kerry Blue originally was bred as a working dog, to go to earth after badger and to trap otter who were blocking up dams in streams, and also as herding and guarding dogs. So the first events ran by the Dublin Irish Blue Terrier Club, which is the mother club of the breed, were working tests. And as you can see, this is a certificate given for a dog that worked. So next slide, please. Now this is just before the Irish Kennel was formed, and this is a trial, a Kerry Blue trial with badger in just outside Dublin in Tallaght, which is a big sprawling suburb now, but in those days was out in the country. And as you can see, they've built an artificial set. There's a plank and a tunnel in, and the badger was placed at the end of it, and the Kerrys for testing were introduced one at a time, and the concept was that they would engage the badger up close. Not necessarily, engage it fully and pull it out, but they had to actually work up close where they put themselves at risk, and that was considered gameness. So that's really was the concept of it. And down in the bottom left there, you'll see this is a young bitch that has drawn a badger, and this is from way back in the day, and this is totally illegal now and would never be acceptable nowadays, but that's the way it was, and we can't rewrite history. We might like to, but we can't. And for those of you in Northern Ireland, you might be interested to know in that picture, the man with the cap on the left is actually Billy Hall, and he was the founder of the Hall's Blue Prefix, which young John Weatherhead, who you all remember, any Kerry Blue people over the last 50 years would remember John Weatherhead. He took that prefix himself, and he's had a string of Kerry Blues that were winners all over. So that's an interesting one at the time. Okay, next slide, please. On the right here is Justice Fella. He was the first chairman of the Irish Kennel Club, and he was a Kerry Blue fancier. And the thing about him is unusual because he was a Northern Presbyterian from Belfast, living in Dublin. And he believed that we should keep the union with England politically. But at the same time, he was very keen that the Irish Kennel Club would form its own, that the dog people would form their own kennel club in Ireland. And that's where he was a big man in the foundation of the Dublin Blue Terrier and eventually the Irish Kennel Club. On the left there, you'll see the breed standard. And this was not a description of the dog, a typical dog that existed, this magic dog that has existed, that we all have to come up to that level. It was purely aspirational, like all original breed standards are. It's an aspirational thing. It's a committee gets together and I think you should have this and I think, and so on. And they put down some kind of a standard there. As you see, the heights, the coats are very different in the way they describe harsh, acceptable, soft, preferred, all very kind of open. A proper committee decision, I might add, which is the usual committee decision. But it was a base, it was a start, and they developed the standard from then on. You can go on to the next one, please. Now, this is the foundation of the Irish Kennel Club from the Dublin Blue Terrier Club. Had many people involved that were politically on opposite sides, but came together for the sake of a breed. So it just goes to show you how unifying a breed can be, or a sport of any description. Because the top trophy on the right there was the Captain Wyndham Quinn trophy, and he was the Vice-Regal's representative in the Phoenix Park, which is now actually the Irish President's residence. But in those days, it was the Vice-Regal's Lodge, and he was there, stationed there, and he presented that trophy to the Dublin Irish Blue Terrier Club. And on the bottom, we have the Michael Collins trophy, the Micheál Quailán trophy. That was presented by Michael Collins, who was, in all intents and purposes, on the opposite side. And yet they were there showing their shows, after dark curfew in the middle of Dublin, when they both should have been out being arrested by each other. And that brought them together. These trophies are still with the club to this day.
Wonderful.
And they're on display for anyone. And especially the Michael Collins trophy is very impressive. It's silver and it's very, as you can see, and has the names of the people involved in it. On the left, something a little bit interesting here. The guy with the trophies on the left is Murphy. His name was Edward Murphy, and he was from Castle Island in Kerry. And he actually was a professional boxer, and quite a successful one as well. But he also was a breeder and exhibitor of Kerry Blues. But what he had was the Earl of Kenmare down in Kerry had a lot of people in the various countries or various towns and various farms breeding dogs for him. And that's where the Kenmare prefix, if you look back in the history, you'll see the Kenmare prefix was kind of prevalent. And he actually bred the dogs and he would sell them to the British Army garrisons which are stationed down there at the time, because the dog became a very interesting dog for them. In the UK, there was a lot of working terriers over there, and this was a new, interesting one for them. And as a matter of fact, despite them being called the Kerry Blue and everyone assuming they were from Kerry, reality is they were originally called the Irish Blue Terrier. That's simple as that. But because of the proliferance of the Earl of Kenmare, the name came from UK. They called it because most of the dogs they were getting were coming from Kerry. And that's really how it gradually slipped in. Next, please. And that's the same thing. In actual fact, the Kerry Blues working Kerry, we'd have to stay with Kerry Blues now. I'm not going to rewrite history. They were kind of prevalent in a lot of counties. The Carrying Blue, they claim in Waterford, they claim part of it. Some parts of the north of Ireland too claim that they had Kerry Blues or Blue Terriers, originally working Blue Terriers. So listen, it is what it is, and we leave it with Kerry. Next, please. Now, the general appearance is not exaggerated, as I said before, but you should get this element of something special, on tiptoe of expectation, everything fitting into place, leaning forward, arrogant, athletic. When you look at that, that's what you should see. And one thing I often say, and there are some breeds are like this, if you look into a group, terrier group, and you don't see the Kerry Blue straight away, it's not a good one. I don't care what you're going to say when you examine them. If you don't see it immediately, it's not a good one. I think the same applies to some other breeds, like maybe poodles and things like that. Just they have that thing. They're all about presence, stature, appeal. Whether you call it sex appeal or not, I don't know what it is, but they have that just extra thing. Next one, please. And that's the same thing as we go through it on again. Behaviour and temperament. They were, because of their working ability and the fact that they were bred as a working dog, originally they would not be argumentative with other dogs. That was a fact because they didn't want two dogs engaging and start fighting with each other rather than with who they were supposed to be fighting or chasing. So that was not a very good thing. So they made sure the dogs were not argumentative. However, as you know, we all know in life, that became a bit exaggerated and they started using them for fighting contests and interaction. And at that stage, then they started treating them to be a bit nasty. And they did for a while get a reputation of being, very nasty and argumentative. However, I can tell you, I was born with them, grew up with them. By the way, that's me, the one on the right. Listen, that's my first kiss from a foxy bitch, right? And that they were really, they love people. They genuinely do. They love that. And because of their coat, it's non-shedding. They're an ideal house dog. However, they can be a little bit dominant, including the females, with other breeds. They can. There's no doubt about it. They can be a bit. Are you talking to me? There is that attitude about them. So you have to be a special, know them to own them. Next. So the head. Now the head kind of expression in terriers, and I don't care what terriers it is, expression is different in each of them, and it's very important. And it gives it what you call the characteristic expression of the breed. And this dog is quite a good. It's a balanced head, right? The ear is not too high. The eye is well placed, and it's a good, strong foreface on it. Next, please. And this is an old Irish saying, right? Never approach a bull from the front, a horse from the rear, or an idiot from any direction. And this is all about when you're examining, because the first thing you go to on a Kerry Blue is the head. The first thing when you're a judge, usually they look and they go for the head. Be aware when you're approaching a Kerry Blue head. If you're not comfortable or you don't feel like that you're comfortable enough, get the exhibitor to open the teeth, show you the teeth. There's no problem with that. You will not be not macho because you didn't wrestle with the dog. Because sometimes when the dog is fidgety and they're grabbing a bit of beard here and there and the dog becomes uncomfortable and it goes all out of hand. So unless you can adequately do it. My own way that I would do it, I think the easy way is to grab the underbeard and just brush the top beard back like that. And then you'll be able to just look. Next, please. This is a wet study of the dog I talked about, Torrance Mr. Dooley, that we had. And you can see that it's not a weak head. It's a strong head, but it's not a lumpy head. So it's not like what they used to call a cabbage, or a head like a turnip. It's kind of clean enough in the cheeks, yet strong. The foreface, as you can see, is a nice, strong foreface, big nose, good, strong. And even in the original standard, it says punishing jaw. And that's kind of important. It means the teeth have to be strong and big and capable of inflicting a good grip. And then the ears, you see the ears right down to the corner of the eye, important as well. Next one, please. Next. The teeth, level or scissors. Generally nowadays, people prefer scissors bite because you're too near. When you go level, you're becoming a bit too near, under or over. So they usually prefer scissors bite. but level is acceptable. The main thing is that the bite, the teeth are strong. Big, strong, white teeth. Next. To me, that eye picture there is too big. So the photograph to the right, the eye is too big and exposed and round. As you see the two types to the left, much better. Shorter eye, smaller, not a beady small eye, but not a big wide open eye. Just an intense dark eye is what you want there. Next please. Ears. Now the ears are close to the eye. The point of them comes close down to the eye, not high up in the head, not cute. The worst thing you can see, from my point of view in a Kerry Blue, is those little fox terrier ears sitting up at the top of the head and looking cute and all that. The worst thing you can say about a Kerry Blue expression is cute. That's the worst thing you can say. If he's cute, he's wrong. You know, I mean, just no, get another breed. So that's important. That next, please. Sorry, can you go back there to the head again? I meant to go a couple of things. Go back again. Thank you. Once more. Sorry. Yeah, great. One other thing we have to talk about here is pigmentation. And in the standard, the pigmentation is said, and a fault is pink gums and pink on the roof of the mouth. Now this comes back from the interbreeding, I'm sure, when they interbred, when they were establishing type back in the day. And it is a fault. But I think there's degrees of everything, and like all faults, there's a degree of it. If you get a really nice coloured dog with full colour, you might get a little bit discoloration in the gums. A little bit. And for me, I would accept that because I've got the bonus of the beautiful coat and colour. Usually, if there's a lot of pink in the gum, you'll find that the roof of the mouth has some discolouring as well. But if the gums are clear, usually, right, you no need to wrestle the dog to the ground, like, you know, there's no need for that to check the roof of the mouth. The one thing I would say, the worst thing about where I would really see that as a fault, pink and discoloration in the gums, is a dog with a dark dull coat, and then you look and there's pink pigmentation in the gums. That for me would be a bad combination and a serious fault. Next. The neck, you know the old Victorian saying, a neck like a swan. Kerry Blues don't have a neck like a swan. I know their attitude and their upstanding posture makes it appear like their neck goes on and on forever and they can look like that. But reality is they have to have a fairly strong neck. No loose skin, none of that stuff, but they should have a fairly strong muscular neck going into the shoulders nice and tight. Because for turning, and if they're underground working or all that type of work they have to have a bit of flexibility and strength in the neck. So that will be important. Next, please. The body is very straightforward. It's a little bit longer than it is tall, that's all. The ribs should be, as you'd expect, fairly full. Nothing unusual about a top line level. All of the things that you'd expect from the body. So nothing unusual about the body. As you can see on the top, there's a couple of images there. If you go back, a couple of images there, one showing that one that's too full and given a barrel rib and kind of where the front is all out, and another with a narrow front over to the right where it's too narrow in the thing, and that would mean the dog would probably cross in front. So that's not, and down below you see the tail sets, right? The first tail set is correct tail set. The second one is too far forward and curled over, as you can see. And the last one is too low set. It's a go-away tail. So just set below the level of the back. And the fact that it curls a little bit kind of covers that up. But it's too low set. So on your examination, you should be able to find that. Next, please. All of that things in the body, it's all about balance and the whole thing. It should be, the chest should be level with the top of the elbow, the top line firm. Across the loin, I'd like to point out this too, is very strong. And I know most of you probably know the loin, but for those of you who don't, it's from the back rib back to the hip bone, the top hip bone, that part of the dog. That actually is very important. It should be strong but flexible. So when you put your hand over it, your little finger should touch the rib, and your back one should touch the butt. When you feel that, there should be width in it and there should be strength in it. And that's important in that. With regards to everything else, standard as you would expect. Now this is interesting too. The other thing about the Victorian neck like a swan is a well-turned ankle. And for some reason or another, that seems to have taken over us too. The over-angulation in the back, this extreme sweeping tie down to a low hop, gliding around, like that is not necessarily correct. It can look very attractive, but it's not correct. As you can see that the dog to the right there in that picture, it's very straight there going down. The hop doesn't exist, but with the proper trimming, you'll find that the hop will appear to exist. So that's up to you to find it. But otherwise, the dog on the left is the right stance. Please. Next. Next. That's the hindquarters again, and as you can see, the level on the dog on the left, it's not too over-angulated, and there's a bit of strength and power in it. And from the back, as you can see, like what you'd expect, there's a bit clearness right down, right including the hocks, and no cow or sickle hocks. They also should be quite wide in the hindquarters. They should have strength. If you remember what we talked about their working origins, turning and pulling something out in a very confined space would require a lot of muscle and a lot of power in the hind legs. Next. Gait and movement, what I mentioned earlier on, is for some reason or another, and I know it's not only our breed, but people want everything moving like a sighthound. They want everything gliding around with an exaggerated big front movement, gliding over the ground, a big extended rear movement like an Afghan. Really, this is not the Kerry Blue movement. Yes, they should have power behind, and that's where they get their propulsion from. Strong hindquarters. And yes, they should have extension in front because of their conformation, and that's okay. But they should be sure-footed. By sure-footed, I mean the feet must actually hit the ground, not gliding over it. So I know that's hard to explain, and maybe in another day we might be able to go through that, but they should be sure-footed. They can move, yes, they can move fast if needs be, but back in the day when, in the 50s, 60s and early 70s even, they all moved like John Wayne. And you know John Wayne, he saved the West, but he never ran in his life. And they'd walk up and down the ring with the ring chucking them, and the dogs would be going with the big wide ass and are you talking to me, looking all very macho, very posturing. So they would find this very, very different. So I think the idea that anything that moves really fast with big extension movement and angulated at the back is a good mover. It depends on the breed. And in my opinion, no, I don't like to see them running too fast all around. I like to see their feet actually hitting the ground in a stride rather than something just skimming away. Next. And there we talked about the two things. I just used that thought there for movement should relate to purpose. And I just put those two images down. I should see that one is for speed and one is for endurance. The first dog is built for speed, and everything about him, his whole angle, his whole shape and all, suggests that he is built for speed. And then the other one, built for endurance, go on forever, could gradually get there, will not go forever. He'll sprint for maybe 300 meters and then he'll tired, but this fellow will go all the time and might wear you down. So I think you have to compare the origins of the breed and what its purpose was and what sort of movement it should have relating to that. And that's the only way you can kind of come up with what to do. Next. Gait movement. Well, that's the same thing what we said there. And I do believe that the group probably has a lot, group judging has probably a lot to do with that. That traditional movement and what's accepted movement, suddenly wasn't pretty enough or wasn't classical enough in the group ring. So when the dogs went to the group, it found generally that the dogs with the longer neck, the more exaggeration and the big exaggerated movement were kind of winning. And then I think we can't totally blame the Americans for it, but I think it happened everywhere. And suddenly it got more and more and more, and then suddenly, rather than the tough, short, square, or not square, but short, heavy, well-catered dog, you suddenly get these more exaggerated movements. Thank you. Next. Coat and colour, and always a big topic in Kerry Blues, and then depending on what one you have, you can put your own emphasis on it. The one that we have there, the top bitch there, is a lovely coat. The coat can be one of two things. It can be soft and wavy. Now, soft and wavy sounds idealistic and lovely, but the trouble with soft and wavy is it's hard to trim and shape. It's hard to get that extra line onto the neck. It's hard to cover up falls with. So, in theory, the half curl is usually what's mostly people have concentrated on, and that's what they're doing to this day. But that top bitch there is a really nice coat. There's a sheen and a clean off it. It's really, really nice. And she's very, that picture was taken in Belfast. And the dog down below shows a young dog, that's the job we got ourselves, a young dog starting to break coat. And this is the thing with the Kerry Blues, and sometimes judges don't appreciate it. The colour is a gradual process. They're born black, and gradually, as they get a bit older, usually from about 7 or 8 months on, they start to kind of break coat. And the first sign of breaking coat is they start to turn a dirty, rusty brown, particularly around the legs at the back and the front legs as well. And you can see that young dog there, there's a kind of tinge of brown off it. And at the time, some people would not understand that and say, oh, I don't like that brown in his coat, and they'd be downgrading him or disqualifying him or something. And whereas breed people are saying, wow, he's going to have a really nice coat. You can see the brown coming through already. So it's important that you know that it's a gradual process, and that they start like that and gradually they develop. And in my experience, once they start to colour, if there's any sign of colour at all, they will colour. They might be, some of them will be slower or come later than others, but they will colour. So that's a good sign that they're coming through. And to me, if they colour slowly, I think their coat will be the best colour possibly. Those that colour early sometimes can go white off when they're 3. They can start to turn over silver or white and kind of can be off-putting. Next, please. Size and weight, well, they're a matter of, I don't go into that much. That's mathematics. That's kind of a matter of fact. So I'm not going to. As regards to size and what way, how fussy are you going to be? Are you going to come into the ring with a kind of measuring stick and kind of weighing scales under your arm just to check to see if this is a good dog or not? No. In my opinion, a good breed specimen will not be dictated by size and weight unless you're in the Dachshunds, and then apparently the only way you can decide what breed it is by the weight and the size. So we won't go into that because I'm sure my people in group 4 will be round off with me. The falls are there as you listed, and to me, apart from the usual falls, ones that I would consider bad is lack of expression. First, I don't like the cute expression. I want them to have a hard expression. So ears up high and cute looking thing, that would be a big no-no for me. Obviously, undershot, overshot, that goes without saying. I think any breed, that applies the same thing. Other things, a darkish dog with discoloration in the mouth, that would be a no-no for me. One other thing that I don't like particularly is a very, very fine coat. Even though it might be coloured and really look nice and say that's a really nice coloured dog, it kind of reminds me, some of them, of your grandmother's perm. Do you remember the perm she used to get that was going to last for 8 months? And when you looked at it, you could see right through to the skin in her head. Well, it's that type of look about it, wispy kind of silvery thing, and you can see right through to the skin. I don't like that at all. And then the other obvious faults that are applied to anything else, but nothing specific there. Next. So these are the kind of the things that the Kerry Blues really have. They have to have this body ring presence. I think Eddie Madden said, like a soldier on parade, like something very statuesque, very intimidating. The whole, and what I was talking about expression, the expression doesn't only, or the attitude, it doesn't only come from the face, the lower size ears, the intense eyes, the strong foreface. It also comes from the attitude, and as you see by the dog on the left there, everything is focused. Look where the dog's eyes are looking. See, the ears are coming into play with that. They're leaning forward towards the same direction. You notice the way the neck has arched forward a little bit. Once again, focusing everyone on that. You know the way the hindquarters, he's reaching forward, but towards that same object that is annoying him or whatever, or interesting him. And even the tail as well comes forward to a thing. So that's kind of the overall impression that you get with the where you expression can be in the body as well as the head. It's the combination. And you see the dog on the right. That to me is a nice headed dog. Nice, not too big in the eye, ears in the right space, good focus on him, strong foreface. Go again, please. So, these are the characteristics that make up the Kerry Blue. Can you go on to the next one? There's something more interesting than this coming up. So this is a general overview. This is put together by the Dublin Irish Blue Terrier Club, and it's all about to give you a feel for the whole breed. And as you can see by the first out image, it gives you overall appearance and ring presence. Well, I've gone through that, and you see the point there, he should hold the ground he stands on. And that's a very typical expression, what that all about. The eye, the expression comes from, as I described, forward. Again, please. Next. So, the walks like a duck, looks like a duck, and quacks like a duck, chances are it's a duck. Now that might seem an obvious thing there, but in reality, what you'll see in the ring, in the Kerry Blue ring, is not necessarily a duck. Because the expert trimming, and I can tell you this much, you can have the most perfect Kerry Blue in the world, and unless you know how to present it up to a fairly professional level, you will not win. So, you as a judge are going to have to find out what's underneath that coat, and accordingly then. So, just because it looks like a duck doesn't mean it's a duck. Examine it. Try and find where the shoulder is, because the trimming is so good and so expert, you will think that dog has a lovely angulation in the rear, and when you go to examine it, you'll find he's a straight stifle and he's no hawk at all. But when you stand back, he looks like it. The same way with the tail set, you'll find, wow, he's a nice tail set right on top. And then you go and your hand goes right down behind the thing and you find, no, he hasn't. The same with the shoulder. They can trim the shoulder around the side to bring it back down and shorten the back, deepen the chest, fill out the chest. It's all mirage stuff. So it's up to you to find out the dog that's underneath it. It doesn't mean that trimming is not important. Of course it is. That outline of that image is going to represent you in the group. So of course it is. And should people try and do that? Yes, they could. And you as a judge, should you discount that because you found something blah, blah, blah? No, not necessarily. No, it's part of the whole deal. So here we're trying to establish a few things here. First of all, type, yeah. Secondly, performance, which is movement and expression and all those things. And thirdly, presentation. And it's all part of what we do. So we can't totally discount it. Next, please. The colour we went through earlier on and is explaining a little bit to you. And there you see two young people on the left there. That's Kathy with the Kerry Blue. She had the most beautiful coat. And she had a thing that's kind of breed specialist people like, which is black points, hocks, socks on the front legs, beard, tail, ears. Black, and the rest are beautiful silver, light blue silver colour. Lovely. Now she had a terrible head. She had a head like a bucket, but she was beautiful, beautiful coat and colour. And then down below, you see the opposite. He's a tighter dog. But he had those things. This is Dooley, actually, when he was a young dog. He's a great head and expression to die for, firm tail set, and an athletic looking dog. Now, if we had the combination of those two, it would be perfect. But unfortunately, as we all know, breeding is not like that. So we'd all like to have that, but it doesn't happen that way. But they're just two examples of two really good dogs with totally different qualities. And that's why we have judges, because I think my father said at a seminar some years ago, they asked him, had he ever seen the perfect Kerry Blue? And he said, yes, I bred it 2 years ago. And they said, and how did he do? How did you show him in the ring? He said, no, I never showed him. And they said, why? Because if I did, the game was over. And I think we all know that. It's all a matter of interpretation and preference. And I know that because in my family, Ross, Kathy and me, and we all have slightly different emphasis on things, and we would argue like mad over things. So it's right. That's why we have this game. Provided they're breed related. Now, provided your opinion is breed related. It doesn't matter that we disagree with each other. That's why we have dog show. Breed related, then it's relevant. So, really, the review at the end is there. So you want an upstanding dog with absolute ring presence. A really hard, focused expression that says, are you talking to me? Well, I don't see anyone else here. All of this type of thing is what you need. And ideally, in an adult dog, a blue coat with nice sheen off it, moving around, covering the ground, but sure-footed, nice and firm on the ground as it goes down. And they should look special, because they are special. Next. So these are images, and just in case you think everything's so simple. The dog on the left, with Kathy there, he looks a really nice dog. I'm sure you know all the things I said about him, he looks great. And he was. He was a beautiful dog, But we showed him, and I don't know why, because I examined him inside out, every part of him, his shoulders, his front, his legs, everything. But he moved like Conor McGregor in the front. Simple as that. This couldn't stop him. No reason. Checked him, got him veterinary checked, x-rayed, couldn't do it. Ended up, we gave him away to a professional footballer in England. That's what we did. We gave him away to a professional footballer. But it just goes to show you, just when you think you have it all right and you know everything perfect, life takes over and something like that happens. So that was just a dog that broke our heart. He really did. And over on the right-hand side, this is our famous picture from a Best of Breed some years ago at the Dublin Irish Blue Terrier Club. And the trophies you saw earlier on are right in the middle. You can see the Michael Collins trophy just falling over, and the Captain Wyndham Quinn trophy there as well. And here you have all the things that I like about the breed. Are you talking to me? Well, I don't see anyone else here. And this is dog and bitch looking at each other and say, no, it's mine. No, it's mine. Coat, colour, attitude. And they still to this day, even the handlers represented the unity in Ireland due to that breed. So that breed has created amazing unity, and anyone in the breed will tell you that there's a big crossover community in as a result of that breed. So it's been, not only is it one of the national heritage dogs of Ireland, which it is, it has that status in Ireland, it also is kind of groundbreaking, and it's obviously my favourite breed. Is that it? Next. Okay, so you're going to judge Kerry Blues, and you've done all the things, you've read all the books, you've done all the things. So there's expectations comes with that. First of all, yourself. You want to do yourself justice. So you want to prepare properly and all that, and make sure you're comfortable with what your knowledge and your experience, what you're doing. Your kennel club. Because every time you go out to judge, whether it's UK or Ireland or whatever, you're representing your kennel club. You've gone through their system, they've given you the authority, so they're giving you a recommendation, right? The event organiser. Most of our events, as we all know, are organised by voluntary people. And they go out and they give their time up, and every AGM, the guy who never attends anything tells them all where they went wrong, and yet they still come out year after year and they do it because they believe in it, right? So You owe it to them to do a good job. The ring personnel, they're going to try and organise and make things happen, so be a bit respectful with them and cooperate with them. The exhibitor. This might be a guy who got up maybe at 2 o'clock in the morning and drove 3 or 4 hours, like, with this dog. His wife hates dogs, but he wants this, and he goes out and he believes in this. So the milkman is probably sleeping with his wife when he goes back. He's bought semen in from America, which they opened up in Germany, and it was waste, it never worked out. That great bitch he had got knocked down on the road, and he comes in and he shows under you. So you have to give him respect. Give him respect. Try and understand his pain. And even if you have bad news with him, try and deliver it as softly as you can. That's all I can say about that. And then the dog. It's not natural for any dog, I don't care what the breed is, to abandon itself to random strangers. It's just not natural. Some of them might be, they might be just that type of dog, but it's not natural. So when you're approaching a dog, always respect the dog. Be gentle, be light-handed in your examination. If you know where the points are, where they're important on the dog, you will not have to be squeezing it and pounding on them and all, like I see some judges do. So you can examine them very gently, find the points you need. As regards to the examining the bite and all that, if you're not comfortable with it, ask the exhibitor to show. Be respectful of the dog. Try and do it as much as you can. And that's about it. If you treat the dog with respect, he'll treat you with you. One other thing, that's a big hobby of mine, do not put your face near the dog. Always examine the dog at hand's length. Really. Even if it's the best loving dog in the world, always examine the dog. If you go down and that dog gets uncomfortable or something happens and he has a bite at you, he gets put down, you go to the hospital, the exhibitor is distraught, not worth it. Keep yourself safe. You're not there to be bitten. You're there to evaluate the dog and give it. Be it as light as you can with your examination, and then as accurate as you can with your description, but respect all the dogs. That it? Next. So that's really more or less it. And of course, yeah, I'll take any questions and try and answer them as much as I can. But you can see the whole stature of that dog, like the soldier on parade, leaning forward, the neck, the ear, the eye, the tail, the whole posture is all leaning kind of towards that focus, whatever that focus is. And once again, keen on the expression. Ear close to the eye down, not a small ear, fairly heavy ear, good strong foreface, medium sized, well focused dark eye, all giving that really keen Kerry blue expression. So I think that's as much as I can do.
John, thank you very much. Give me one little second. Could you just close that door with a bit of interference, chaps? Thank you very much, Sean, for your time this evening, and I am delighted to be able to tell you that we've had 50 people on tonight who have not moved 1 inch. They've been hanging on your every word, and where those people have come from tonight, we are thrilled to have them from our own country here in Ireland, from the UK, from the USA, from Iceland, Holland, Lithuania, Estonia, Dominican Republic, Canada and Australia. So Sean, you are a very popular man, and of course these people are really wanting to hear what you've got to say. Now, I know that I already have 4 or 5 questions. We did say we would have a little comfort break for a few minutes, and folks, please don't rush off. Sean has put us through the breed very comprehensively and very effectively, but I have always found that there's a little bit more to gain through the questions. So I'm looking at my time clock here. If I say we reconvene again at 2015, let me just double check my timing. Yeah, let's come back at 2015. That's GMT, and we'll give the questions that I have here. And if anybody wants to drop a question in that little chat box there, as I said, it's I see one coming through there. Excellent. Please drop your questions in, because there's more to be gained. And Sean, as I said, if you want to be comfort break or a glass of water or a glass of wine, whatever, I'll see you back. I'll see you back here at 2015, and we'll carry on from there. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Super.